Join us for a review of the all-new Volkswagen Golf 8. Let's go! Here in the front you can see, yes, it's still a Golf, but they somehow design-wise turned the headlamps upside down. It looks a little bit like that, so there's different shape for the headlamps now. And it looks a little bit wider and, bigger stance on the road and so on. Also those accentuations on the hood have been strengthened. Again, I think it's just a matter of taste if you like the outgoing model more or this more. Just tell me in the comments, please. It starts now with LED headlamps as standard. Then we also have, as standard, also a nice daytime running light as well. And optionally, you can get those IQ lights, they call it. That's just a brand name. And then it's a matrix LED, 2x22 LEDs. And then they also have an elaborated high beam function. And in this high trim, you also get, and I'm getting the key, so this cascading turning indicator light, then both for the front and for the rear. 4.28 meters, 14'4" or 168 inches is the length of the new Golf. Well, it's about 3 centimeters longer than before, but that's not a massive change chassis-wise. It's just a little bit spoilers and so on. Also the same wheelbase, so they have actually remained those dimensions of the car. And yeah, quite often cars grow and grow and grow. In this case, they didn't go for it, and I think it also wouldn't have made any sense. You would start with 15-inch steel wheels, so the cheapest variant, then goes 16 aluminum, 17, 18. Those ones are the 18-inch wheels. And you, for example, also get it standard in the R line. This one is the so-called style trim level, so a mid-trim level. Here in the rear, we see a typical Golf shape. This is the Golf hatch, so to say. And you can see here the tail lamps, they have a new design, and there when we open and close the vehicle, and we can also see those cascading turning indicators right there. Still a very elegant design. There's a bigger Golf lettering there, and also seen also in the front this retro style new Volkswagen logo, which the Golf is also getting there. So the horsepower variety will be about 90 to about 300 horsepower. We'll see how much horsepower the GTI and the R versions will get in this generation. And then you will have turbo petrol engine, TSI. You will have the ETSI, MHEV. So the turbo petrol engine with the mild hybrid systems. You will have PHEV, so plug-in hybrid vehicles. Then you will have the TDI, turbo diesels and CNG. This all new dashboard, soon also more to the screens. There will always be this virtual cockpit, no analog gauges left, always digital. There will be 2 different trims of those. In Germany, we'll automatically get the one we see here with the elaborated functions, so more details to that. There's a new steering wheel introduced with the T-Cross. It looks a little bit more like tech-alike, a little bit more modern. Left side here for the cruise control, for example. Right side to control the digital instruments and with a flat bottom. Then there are new seats. Fabric seats will be base. Different materials and seat choices will be available. Those ones here are the Ergo Active seats, so special comfortable ergonomic seat, and in this case also with Alcantara on the inside and some fabric on the outside. Perfect material, really good, and it looks also fancy with this quilting. You can make the seating area a little bit longer and some different electric controls, and they look actually good. But are they also feeling good? So let's get inside, and you have the typical Golf feeling, yes. The only thing you feel immediately, like room-wise, here you have this additional window in the front. It's a very small one here at the door, and you also see that somehow from the inside, and you can see also how it's cut out here from the door. And this is, making more an appearance of that the cockpit seems to be a little bit longer, but just slightly. Now the interior overview, of course everything styled to feature this new infotainment system. But first of all, soft touch here at the top of the dashboard. Also interesting, those design elements. And again, then this, aluminum brush style. I think it looks pretty good, pretty premium, and also reduces the amount of black piano lacquer being used like here at the, at the housings. And it starts already with a 10.25-inch screen on the left for the virtual cockpit. Yet again, some markets will get a base version where there's no GPS map possible, like we see here. Germany and also other markets will feature this software version where it's also possible, but the size will also be the same, and you can always go for that one optional. But again, some markets will have this one as standard already. Then on the right side, you start with the 8.25-inch, so a smaller screen. That then would have a manual volume knob still, and also here another tune knob on the right. If you fancy that, this one is the optional 10-inch screen, so the biggest one they have. And this one then is featuring the volume here, like with the slider or clicking. And the same goes also for the temperature, and this will always be the case. So even if you go for the smaller one, you have to slide or click the temperature. And then further down below, this is the new DSC shifting lever, small shift by wire. So, like from reverse to D, that goes really fast then, for example. And start stop engine button is here, so it looks a little bit different when you have these G, and it's really space saving, definitely. Some spot to put your key right there. In this virtual cockpit, you can change the views. If you hold the view button, you can also put it all the way, just the map. That's cool for navigating. Other than that, you also have some assistance system view. You also have some rather classic gauges view, for example. Optional head-up display. Yeah, it's, I think, also good invest here with the speed, allowed speed, assistance system info, and if you have set a GPS route, you also get some arrows and there's some information in your line of sight. So this is the home menu. You can also change the color, by the way. You can go up and down, for example. And also here to the right side, and you have this home menu where you can also individualize a little bit more. For example, here also then the hotkey to the Apple CarPlay. This is how the integration works, and it's also wireless at the moment. And let's also just play some and listen to this music system, 10-speaker Harman Kardon system. Wow, this is really cool. For a compact vehicle, this is a great sound, great surround sound. Awesome. Really like that. So that would be one of the coast-worthy options I would probably go for. Yet again, main menu right here. So Android Auto will be possible with the cable. This is the GPS then. See here, also quite responsive. All those clicking sounds, I will probably deactivate them because they, annoy a little bit. Overall, I think it could be a little bit more intuitive, the whole system. Here you can activate the seat heating, for example. Then you can change temperature here. But again, otherwise, here with the audio and here with the, come on. And here then with the temperature saving, either swiping or clicking right here. Not a fan of that. Are you? Please tell me in comments, or if I'm, too conservative for that. So what about this rear legroom? And today I really need the shoe tab to keep the car somewhat clean, at least. And legroom is not super plentiful, but it's okay. It's a compact vehicle. It's not changed as before. It always depends on how you have the seat. There are interesting seat pockets here, new ones. And those Ergo Active seats, you see they're quite thick, so they reduce somewhat the legroom, I think. I haven't seen the base fabric seats yet, but I think they should be a little bit slimmer than for the rear legroom. Yeah, it is windy today. So let's open the hatch, and this typical logo flipping function right there. And here we go with the standard trunk. And we've put some suitcase in here, vertical and horizontal, that you can see that all fits indeed. This is, the luggage capacity you do have. And I think that's, pretty much standard here, definitely for this very segment. Square dimensions, I think that's actually quite good. Welcome to Thomas' Driving Lounge here with the all-new Volkswagen Golf 8. So this newest generation, and we'll directly start you with the blind spot monitor. You saw this yellow light flashing. One of the safety systems, the front assist, the autonomous emergency brake is standard equipment. However, then there's different steps of upgrading those assistance systems, and the travel assist package is the most elaborate one. And then you also get some of the new features. For example, as standard, the new Golf does not have the capacitive steering wheel, but when you have the travel assist package with the most elaborate, ACC and also the, lane keeping. Here, this is an active lane keeping. See, but leave your hands in the steering wheel. This is just demonstration purposes. Professional driver, do not attempt. Warning. But you see that it actually worked. But it's not meant to take your hands off the steering wheel, but it works very well and also pretty smooth. And the thing is that when you're running straight all the time, we had a couple of times in different cars that those systems were thinking, oh, the driver has let off of the steering wheel. It's not the case here. So when you have the travel assist package, the most elaborate function then for all the assistance systems, then you have this capacitive steering wheel included, like in the new Passat facelift, for example. And that means that the car realizes that you have your hands on the steering wheel, not that you do something, but that you just hold on. There's, it's basically inbuilt which measures that. And that's, of course, a really good function, that you don't have those false positives, that the car really knows that you still have your hands at the steering wheel. So that's actually pretty good. Then we also have the adaptive cruise control, which now in the highest trim again works also predictive. So when the car knows map data wise, oh, there will be reduction in speed, there will be a roundabout coming and so on, then it's already reducing the speed. And that can also help to bring fuel consumption down. So that's also pretty relevant as for that. And well, one of the main things with the new Golf generation is always like, does it still feel like a Golf? Yes, it definitely does. It still feels like a Golf in a basic way, but it does feel more elaborate. I mean, you had a digital cockpit before. I also like that, actually. I really have to say I did like the graphics of the old active info display or virtual cockpit. I liked it a little bit more, to be honest, But that's maybe matter of taste or something. And as I said earlier, that's also a very important aspect, therefore I repeat that. If you go with the smaller screen on the right, you would still have the knob here on the right side, probably also to zoom in and out on the map, and also the volume knob. And I actually would tell you, go for the smaller infotainment screen. It's easier to have the volume knob left, and you even save some money. And you already have the voice input and also the Apple CarPlay or Android Auto connection. So, why not? At the moment, I've mounted the maps in both screens, actually. So that's also again something, cool, surely. Why not again? And we are already here on the motorway. And one of the things that the Golf always does best is that it's one of the most silent in its segment and one of the most elaborate ones, giving you the best comfort. We have the optional DCC, dynamic chassis control, I think left, dynamic chassis control inbuilt here. That means that the adaptive suspension, and it's doing a great job really to keeping this comfort. I'm in the comfort mode at the moment, and it is very comfortable but somewhat sporty at the same time, and just delivering us a very good compromise. We can also change the driving modes. For example, if I go to the sports mode, then the gears are turned up higher, we go a gear lower, the suspension is a little bit stiffer, I immediately feel it on the road. And you can also now individualize that. So, you know, just set different parameters and, you know, just do a little bit more. But usually while driving, you just leave it with those presets. And in the eco mode, the other new thing is being stressed here. You can blind spot monitor. This MF system, you know, when you have the DSG, this 1.5 and also some other versions automatically come with as mild hybrid system, so there's like a bigger battery, and then there's more recuperation and also more of this sailing or coasting function. And this can help again to bring the fuel consumption down. And you know, the Golf, not in the GTI, not in the R, not in the GTD, not in the GTE, normal Golf, is also a car where it's also about fuel economy and people are not racing all the time and just driving it, you know, in a commuting way to work. That's also why I always want to give you situations which are closest to you as a car customer as well. And I have to say, fuel economy wise, this is really well done and unusual from Volkswagen Corporation cars. So far we have always been criticizing them for too high fuel consumption. And that seems to be really better with this new 1.5 MF now, and also with the hardware changes they actually did. So pretty good, and the fuel economy even drops further down. So yeah, that's actually quite good. Usually, like those fuel economy figures, we just reach with like true hybrids, like with those Toyota inbuilt hybrids, which have a little bit bigger battery. But here, obviously, also possible now with the upgrades. So that is also one of the crucial changes, definitely. The whole feeling in the car is also, let's say, somewhat different than in the predecessor, because you have, you know, those additional window here, and I mean the dimension did not really change, but in the interior you feel as you would be driving a little bit bigger car. Maybe it's also because of the seat, yes, but then again, the cockpit is maybe a little bit, not sure if it's really the case, but you have the feeling, subjective feeling, that you would drive like half a segment higher just from how the cockpit is, you know, built up. Also, like with this, you know, additional window in there in the front. So that's also to me a very interesting finding. And again, sporty-wise, good control, steering wheel, progressive input. You don't have to steer so much. You can leave your hands at the steering wheel all the time. That's also what I really, really like. So you have like one of these standard cars, but already have a very sporty car which you can have fun with. And you don't have to have a GTI. Even here, this normal Golf 1.5 TSI, yes, it has already lot of extra equipment. It will not be a cheap car at all, but still, you can have fun with a non-sporty version of this vehicle. And now we have one more view here to the sea for you, and also those cobblestones here on the ground. And even that, the DCC is doing very, very good. And here also it's a free dead road, some slalom on the cobblestones, and it's mastering that very well. And you see here how direct the steering is transporting everything. So that's really cool. Like that. Olga's still alive? Yeah, and those seats really, keep us also, where we should be.
Good side support.
Yeah, good side support, and also, with the Alcantara surface. So that's again, speaking for those seats. And yeah, I think very interesting driving impressions here for today. I mean, there's a cobblestone background, but this is like a free parking lot here. So what we can do once more is giving you some acceleration. So we're hurting no one here. Here, for example, just in the sport mode. Yeah, maybe we can even like rev it up before just a little bit. Oh, that was 70 kilometers an hour. You maybe heard I was really pushing it, and front wheel drive only this car, of course. Do I smell some clutch? Yeah, I do smell some clutch. And of course, on the cobblestones with little sand, there was not so much grip. But still, that was also a good test. And actually, just that you show, that you see something of the acceleration that this engine is capable of. And You don't always have to test it in very, the best conditions. It's always interesting to see that also how it works when, conditions are a little bit harder on the car. And here we are with our conclusion for today with the all-new Golf 8. Well, yes, it's still a Golf and still has a lot of those features what, making it famous. Of course, the rich door closing sound, for example, and also this very, very refined ride, so good in the noise insulation. Now even more comfort, especially with those optional seats we have here. So overall, even a little bit more refined, especially in the driving feeling. And to me, one of the best changes was also that we could really score a very decent fuel economy here today with this 1.5 TSI with the new MHEV function with about 5 liters and 100 kilometers. Well, what else? Design-wise, you can always argue about that. If the MK7 or the MK8 is more beautiful to you, that's just, I think, matter of preference, but it's not too much changes after all. The interior, of course, that has changed with all those new digital stuff. Digital cockpit is standard now. And then those 2 new infotainment systems in the middle part. I would actually go with the smaller one because you still have volume knob, but that's also a matter of preference. The software could be a little bit more straightforward. I hope maybe they give an update at a later stage that is a little bit more intuitive to use. So you have to learn it a little bit, but then I think you can also get along with it. The space that is offered on the interior, still the same as before. Here, 2 small things about the hydraulic struts and also about the hard pack materials at the rear doors from the inside. Those are 2 cost savings, I thought. Everything else is actually now top-notch as we used to. And again, you also get some more new features than for this new Golf generation. So a lot of very interesting impressions here for you today. We will keep you updated with all of the different variations and iterations that are coming for this new Golf generation, different engines and so on, different trims. And I hope also to see you right there. And if you're interested in the Volkswagen ID.3, which will take over the electric counterpart because the e-Golf is no more, then also tune into that review. So, see you there, see you anywhere else with our reviews. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Bye.